Go.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Indie Game Social Club, a monthly discussion. With me today is someone new, but first, I am your stream master and hard time whiskey debt collector, Brian. Today we have someone that has been trolling us with the Russian bots in our chat, but is joining us with her webcam for the first time today is Anna. Who are you and
Hi.
what are you playing this week?
So my name is Anna. I have the luxury of working with video games for an everyday basis. So I've been playing a lot of Payday, as I always do, but I also had the luxury of playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
This week,
So
wonderful.
that's what I've been doing lately.
How many hours are you in on that game?
Yeah, like I don't like it's partly like a lot of shame, but like around 50 hours.
Wow, that's a lot of hours.
So, it's a lot of hours. I have a lot of time on my hands now.
Like many of us do. What kind of Vikings are they? Are they Swedish Vikings? Norwegian Vikings?
They're Norwegian and
Danish Vikings? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I haven't seen any Swedish Vikings so far, but they do tend to say, like when they're saying cheers, they're saying skull, which I think is pretty funny.
Interesting. Wait, how do they say skull and or cheers in Danish? You guys know?
They're just I don't know what they actually say in Danish, but in the game they're just saying skull.
Right. Okay, moving on. We got Johan here. Tell us who you are, what you do, and what you've been playing this week.
So my name is Johan. I'm a user experience
designer. One moment. Your microphone's doing the thing again.
It is.
Yeah. Well, how about we'll get back to you, and then Simon, why don't you tell us who you are, what you're playing this week, what makes you happy?
Hey everybody, I'm Simon. I work with design, with web and app design, and this week, I've actually been playing something that I promised myself I would not get into again. An MMO. I've started to play Final Fantasy 14. Casually, I say casually.
Casually, how many hours in are you?
I think I'm 40 hours in.
So casually 40 hours this week. That's like a whole work week.
I'm playing on a server that has 100% XP boost, which is helping.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't invite me to raids. I don't wanna get stuck. I just wanna, run around and click things.
Wonderful.
Yeah, nice. It's been a good week.
Yeah. And then back again, we have Darren, Mr. Papa and new Papa to be, has graced us with his presence. Tell us who you are, what you do, and what you're playing this week.
My name's Darren. I work in marketing, and this week, I've been playing some Final Fantasy 14 myself, actually. But other than that, I'm a procrastinator, so I've been cramming to get as much of the Kentucky Zero done as possible. So I've been playing our game.
Are you past the start menu yet?
I did. I at least got past the start menu.
Nice. Great. Cool. And then let's see if Johan is still a robot.
Yeah, should we give him another shot? Is it okay? Or is it...
Oh, you sound great. Perfect.
Okay, so this is actually good now.
Johan, tell us who you are, what you do, and what you've been playing.
Well, so my name is Johan. I work with design, specifically user experience. So a lot of my interest in games is about like how stuff works and how do you make it easy to understand. Right now, I'm I'm still playing Hades. You guys know that. I'm running close to 200 hours now. So I think some kind of intervention is probably the time right now. So
how much did you play? Did you play any today?
Yeah, not much. Maybe 3 or 4 hours, something like that.
So not much.
I have a problem, man.
I mean, that's when you know you got a good game, when it hooks you and takes over your personal life, and you lose friends and family.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I mean, it's game of the year for me, definitely, without a doubt.
Oh wow. Okay. Nice. With that said, I think it just may be time to jump into our monthly discussion. And I don't know if people in the stream heard or saw, but I added a fancy new song transition to get to our next screen. But this month, we have Kentucky Route Zero as our monthly discussion game based on the theme that we chose last month, which is travel. This was the clear winner. It just looked so beautiful and looked so interesting and engaging. Everyone chose it unanimously. So just as a summary from the developers, they say it is a magical realist adventure game about a secret highway in the caves beneath Kentucky and the mysterious folks who travel it. It was a Kickstarter game that I think started in 2011, and the first episode of 5 launched in 2013, and the 5th episode or act launched this year. So this game has been releasing chapters for the past 7 years, I think. It's pretty wild. Yeah, let's see. Oh, another thing that I think I stumbled upon was the fact that one of the major, or a few of the major inspirations for this game were Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who I don't know, but apparently is a Colombian novelist, Flannery O'Connor, which is a female short story writer, I'm not too familiar with, and I think it's obvious once you start playing. David Lynch, the filmmaker. I think it wears the David Lynch on its sleeve in terms of, like, I still don't know what the fuck this game is about, but I really enjoyed it, just like most of David Lynch's work. But yeah, so yeah, it's by Cardboard Computer. Johan, do you have some tidbits of information about Cardboard Computer?
I mean, very little, except for the fact that there, as far as I know, only 3 people. Mm-hmm. Which is remarkable. I guess that also tells a little bit about why it took so long. It's been like a project that's been ongoing for quite some time, I think.
Right.
But there's very little. I mean, we tried to look into it beforehand, but there was very little information available.
Yeah.
So I haven't really gotten around to it. I've been really, like, for me, it's been like, it's such an interesting game that I've been actually looking into, like watching a few interviews or reading a bit more about their thoughts behind the game. So I'm hoping to look into that after this stream.
Right. Yeah. Like, everything around this game has been pretty cryptic. Like, if you even go to Cardboard Computer's website, it is like an old HTML looking website with just pictures and text, and they don't tell you anything about Cardboard Computer, for better or for worse. It's cool. It's fun. It's frustrating, but like, it's mysterious and it grabs you in all the right ways, in my opinion. But yeah, so with that said, I think I'm going to kick it over to Simon, who's going to basically drive this discussion. Simon, where are you taking us?
Yes, so I mean, this is such an interesting and weird ass game that I thought that I feel like there's no actual beginning and end in this. Like, it's all just like a like mess of like it's like everything is like a beginning of a story in a way. So I do kind of want to, but I do want to kind of want to start and like in the chapter 1, like in the first chapter, just to like hear you guys like in the beginning, like when you went into the game and you saw it and you like started to play it, like what was your thought like in the beginning of the game at the gas station, and when did you realize the like actual game that it was? Like, do you have like a moment when that happened, when you were like, whoa, wait a minute, what? Like, this is something else.
I think for me,
yeah, go ahead, Darren.
Go ahead. I mean, for me, it was definitely. At first, I thought it was something like a normal guy who just sort of stumbles upon the supernatural or stumbles upon weird things, and he starts to get lost in exploring this weird world. But I think they kept making references to his boss and his boss's life, But then you start getting these sort of like weird glimpses, or he'd like black out in the caves, and like all these things started happening where you basically would see his character in the position of his boss, and you're like, hold on a second, like there's some sort of like denial going on here, where it's like there's actually this other reality that you're sort of being misled to believe. And then I think when he gets his legs fixed, that's what really clinched it. Like, okay, this is definitely not right.
Wait, first, how
Right.
far did you make it through the game, Darren?
I made it to the 4th act, so I didn't finish it yet.
Oh,
but
wow.
Nice.
I'm in the 4th act right now.
That's not bad. I'm only at I only just finished Act 3 actually.
Yeah,
and I mean like yeah. Sorry.
No, yeah, I had to like, oh man, I just feel like this is the kind of game that I feel like has replayability too, because there's so many things that I intentionally went around because I was trying to get, through the game. I wanted to get a feel of the whole game first. And I couldn't even get through it all. It was a little hard to kind of figure out. I think there were certain parts where like I didn't know what to do, and like I couldn't really follow what was going on. But by and large, like I tried to kind of get through as much of it as possible. But I think it definitely. I think that happened. I think his leg happened. He injured his leg in like the 2nd act, and then it was like at the start of the 3rd act is when his leg is fixed, and that's when his leg's fixed. I know we all talked about this beforehand, that we weren't really too worried about spoilers, but he injures his leg in the 2nd act in a cave accident, and then at the end of the act he goes to a doctor to fix it, and then his leg is fixed, but it's a skeleton leg, and they don't really ever address it. He just suddenly has a skeleton leg.
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's
they're
fixed.
like, great,
yeah,
your leg's fixed.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
you're like, wait, hold on, what? What's
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah.
So I think like from then I'm like, okay, something's really weird in this world. Like he's not perceiving his leg properly. So I
Right.
felt like there had to be something up. So that's when I knew this game was definitely different than what I thought it was. And I think, I want to give everyone else a chance. I have a couple theories, even though I haven't even finished the game yet. Like I have a couple theories of like what's going on, but I'm excited to hear what you guys think.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what about you? What was the like moment when you were like, wait a minute, this is just not a regular indie point and click game. This is
Well, like
something
when I
it's like a-
start,
an
like
awakening into.
when I started playing, I had like 0 expectations. I was like, oh, it looks very pretty. You're supposed to like go around about this route. But then when like at the first, when like he actually went to the basement, like in the very, very first act, and like there's that scene where all of a sudden there are people there, and then he goes like finding a dice, like a game dice, and then all of a sudden they're just gone. I'm like, what is going on here? And the weird part is that it all started pretty like I didn't have any expectations, as I said, but I did at least have the expectations of like, okay, I think this is going to be good. But the more I played, the more frustrated I got, because there were so many, like it got so messy. I had to like think for like a couple of hours, being like, wait, what happened? Am I supposed to be confused, or am I stupid, or is this supposed to be a part of the actual game experience? Like to me, that was very unclear, and I actually like I got a bit upset, so I just stopped playing. Like I couldn't continue. I ended up with like in the end of Act 2. So when he fixes his leg, basically. But after then, like I'm like, no, I can't do this anymore. I'm just gonna. It's too weird. I can't wrap my head around it.
I think I'm with you on that notion. In Act 1, I was bored as shit. I was like, what the fuck? What is this, a conversation simulator? What's going on here? I was just what is going on? But then it was just every now and then when it would start to lose me, there'd be this little bit of funky weirdness that kind of drew me back in. Like the finding the dice and the people disappear. And, I will admit that I'd nodded off a couple times playing, and it took me quite a while to get to, spoiler alert, Act 3. When Johan gave us that heads up, Act 3 is where it kind of flips the script and it leans into the weirdness. and you get some surrealness, and it feels very, very David Lynch. It's pretty wild. But yeah, I think I stuck with it because I heard about so many rave reviews about it. So I was like, there's got to be more to this, and I think you are rewarded, but you got to kind of be open and receptive to that weird shit, and it gets really weird.
Yeah, because at one point when I also realized that a couple of names were used like at different kind of scenarios, like that, like Lula's name is mentioned in the museum when they're there, and then I was like, are they supposed to be connected, or is this like they're acting in parallel lives or universes? And like there were too many like philosophical thoughts for my brain to cope and continue playing the game, basically.
Right. And I
That's what I liked about it, is that I think I like to be like showered with like weirdness, and then like whatever like sticks. Like I think like they know that will like this, like we're gonna bathe Simon in this like funky goo, and then he'll just get part of it. But
Mold.
those are the parts that we want him to get. But Joe, what about you? Did you have like did you have a defining moment where you switched?
Yeah, I mean, you can talk about like the defining moment
your
for
mic is
story-wise.
thing
Which,
again.
Oh, Johan, your robot again. Oh no.
why is it?
It's like every 5 minutes it decides to fuck.
I have absolutely no idea what's going on with
Oh,
Oh,
my
you're
that's
computer
good,
normal
guys.
again. You're normal again.
Yeah,
Fixed.
I have absolutely no idea what's happening.
No
I mean, like, it depends on if we're talking about like story-wise or game-wise. Because like, if we're talking about like game-wise, when you come into it, it feels like this kind of classic LucasArts, point-and-click game from the 90s. Like you have this kind of like preconceived notions of what the game is supposed to be. Like you're supposed to explore, you're supposed to solve things, and take the sort of story forward. But I guess like the first time it sort of like something clicked at least was already at the gas station when you're supposed to like enter the password for the guy's computer, and it says like, yeah, the password is just it's more like a poem, I suppose. It's just one of those things, like, and you get like all these options to actually decide what the password is, and it sort of sets the tone for like the entire narrative experience to me. Like you're not actually deciding on what will happen, but more like deciding what the world is like, and sort of like what is the interpretation of like what is your past, what kind of person are you? And that to me was like almost like an inverted kind of thing regarding like how adventure games normally are. Like you're supposed to like discover what it actually is.
Absolutely.
While you get to decide that, but the story in itself just kind of moves on while your interpretation gets different.
I think
and that I felt was just like really novel.
Embarrassingly enough, I didn't come to that conclusion until like yesterday. The fact that, like, because you're in these point and click games, you make these decisions, and then there are kind of basically most of the time different consequences, or just consequences in general. Yeah. But I think when you're making decisions in this game in particular, there are no consequences other than like, hey, this is you're writing the book as it's as you're reading it, right? Like you get to decide how you read this book, if that makes sense. And that took a really long time for it to click. I was like, okay, I get it. And you're just kind of watching it unfold,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you guys about because where we're gonna spend most of our time, I think, is the story, right? Because it's such a funky game. So the visuals and the music, I think, is like easier to digest. Darren, what do you think about how the game looks and sounds like?
I mean, I really liked it, which it's kind of funny because I knew nothing about this game when I threw it into our poll for what game to do this time. Like I actually picked it because I just thought it looked really beautiful. It was a nice looking game. It looked interesting. I liked a lot of the old kind of point and click games in the 90s. So I just thought this could be fun. It looked, foolishly thought it looked simple and like something that we could easily digest and do for
basically Sam and Max,
Yeah, that's kind of exactly. I thought it would be something, pretty wholesome and easy to do. But it definitely it surprised me in a lot of ways. But I think, visually and, audio wise, like I loved the music. Like I think the video it's a very beautiful game. It's incredible. It's beautiful in its simplicity. But like the music and the ambiance of the audio was really cool. Like the audio that they had, and like the crickets and the forestry sounds and all the natural like white noise, I thought was really cool. It was a nice touch, and I loved the like country music that plays when you get to certain like milestones in the game.
Yes.
There's like this country music that plays, and then like as your character moves through the world, you like spot these like figures in the background or foreground with like little guitars playing. Like I thought that was really cool. So like they almost made like the music wasn't just ambient music, it was like immersed within the like story. Like you almost felt like there was something to the song playing that may have been relevant to what you're doing, which like may not be the case, but like it just brought the music more into the game, which I thought was
absolutely
really
cool. Yeah. And Simon,
I think sorry, I think I can segue on that and just say like I think like the first thing like is like it's easy to sort of like feel that this game has this kind of retro touch to it, but I also actually think like it has this kind of like, it feels like retro in one way, but I think it's like distinctly retro in a sense that it's kind of timeless. That I think it's sort of like what they're going for, like in an entire game. Like you have no idea at what time or like at what point in time this game is supposed to take place. And it could like they sort of mix like old things and new things, and there's like this retro aesthetic to it, but with like really modern animations and just like a really like such attention to detail when it comes to like the like characters and everything.
right.
And like with the music, there's this contrast between, as you said, like the quiet ambience and like this like really dramatic moments. And I actually think that the sort of like in Act 3 that Junebug performance, for example, it's like it's all actually sort of cuts to the core of what the game is about.
Okay,
like this,
so
kind of sense of loss.
Simon, feel free to stop me if I'm getting too ahead of it, but if I would love to talk about that Act 3 concert.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and Anna, if this is why I'm like, I wish you would have stuck out to just at least that part, because if you would have stopped after that concert segment, it would have been like it would have paid itself off, and I would have been fine with you stopping there. Because like that moment was when I was like, I was all in when I saw it. And I'm gonna go ahead. I saved the clip and I'm gonna play it on our stream just so people can see it for ambiance. But you go and you end up at a bar to watch these strangers play. And you think it's going to be a normal concert, and she starts playing and you're watching it, and all of a sudden the tiles of the ceiling start to rise up into the sky, and it's this open air venue, and then she starts to sing, and then the music goes, and it's a super kind of hipstery, beautiful thing going on.
Yeah, it's just...
And then you have choices. And you choose these random string of words, and what you don't realize until a few moments later is that you are writing the song that she's singing. And it just like, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. But my God, like you can see on the stream right now, it's like, you get to choose the lyrics, and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm watching this thing unfold. And it's a beautiful fucking song.
Yeah.
Like I think the sound design and music in this game, spoiler, like it definitely, it made this game go from like a 6 to a 7 or 8 for me in terms of like, that sound added so much to this game. Who else kind of encountered that Act 3 tidbit there?
Yeah. I thought it was really great.
Darren, yeah. Simon, did you make it to Act 3?
I'm Act 3 is my actually next step. So I'm
wow, you're in for a treat, man.
Yeah,
it's just and I actually think like they built up to that really nicely as well. Like it just felt like something happened in Act 3, like with the whole like tempo of the game. They have a lot more, like even the scene before with the motorcycle, and you know you're just standing by the roadside, and then suddenly switches over to them on a motorcycle. And there's this like completely different kind of dialogue with like pumping music and
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like with the because the game builds. So in the first act, it seems like you're lost, but then you're still trying to figure out like what something strange going on, but you can't quite put your finger on it. Like little things happen. And then in the second one, there's all these coincidences with you and this woman, and you're like all these weird, unexplained things about like why is she here? Why are you being led to this place? And things aren't adding up. You're being told to go to one place, but it's what you're being led to isn't there, and then you're led into something else, and it's all like very strange. But I feel like once you get to, I can't remember who said it, but someone said it earlier, that it really leans into the weirdness once you get to Act 3. because then just
Mm.
like very abstract, like psychedelic things start happening, and no one questions it. Everyone's just like totally goes with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I know. Was that like, because it feels like from the start, like even with the woman in the first house that you meet, the person with the broken television, like she's like doesn't make sense, and then all of a sudden there's like a man in the woods playing wonderful music. Like, did you feel that that's like that has to be connected somewhere, or did you feel like okay, like this is just a weird world that I'm gonna have to like hang out in?
I think like I got the sense that like it is going to be like a weird experience that ties in, I think, like in the end, but you have to kind of invest your time in being a part of the weirdness, basically. But what I had a hard time with was more, I think that like the first, like up until when I quit playing, like everything was like super duper slow.
Mm.
Mhm.
Like the conversations were slow, there were a lot of dialogue, and
Mhm.
I like to kind of explore like my way around. Like, so when I went to the farmhouse, I kind of like wanted to kind of click around and see where can I go. Is it just a house, or like can I go,
Yeah.
like what happens if I go to the graveyard, like what does that tell you? And I kind of wanted to explore more. I also wanted to go down to that basement of her house, but
Mm.
like there was a couple of parts where like, yeah, it is weird. Some parts was very nice. Like I totally agree with you with all the sound and the ambience of it. But it came like when these different storylines kind of magically showed up
Mm.
during everything. Like my brain just got an information overload and couldn't take it anymore. So that's
Yeah.
basically what happened.
Right. Right.
But I wished I might like if the super duper weirdness, or like the act 3 would have come a bit sooner, I think I actually might have continued to play. But in this case, it was more like I was too bored. Maybe
Yeah.
it's the
Anna, to that point.
millennial me again. Yeah.
Oh no, no. I think that's very valid because it's one of those things where like this is usually part of our discussion, but like respecting the player's time is a big part of it, and this game definitely expects a lot from the player. And if you don't know what you're getting into, it's like it can be off-putting, and it was for me. Admittedly, it was for me, but I forced myself to stick it through for sure. But that's a very valid point. And one thing that I would say that I would be a little bit critical on my playthrough is that in your experience, Anna, was the same as mine, which is there was a lot less choice than I thought there was going to be, a lot less opportunity to explore than I thought there was going to be, you know? And then so I was just like, what the hell is this game trying to ask of me? You know?
Right.
It took a while to figure out, but again, I was just like, they're dangling that carrot just far enough that I was still continually playing and trying to get reach of it, you know?
So I think that the opposite of that is what, or I think that is what made me like it, because I think like, so point and click games, I was daunted at first because I thought that there's going to be a lot of dialogue. I'm gonna be able to click on like 1,000 things. They're gonna say like, "This is the book. Like nobody has read it yet. Maybe you should." Blah blah blah. You know, but it didn't. Like I could only click the things that they wanted me to click, right?
Right.
Like I
Right.
didn't, and I feel like usually like you being able to explore in like point and click games is for you to get a sense of the world you're in. It's like basically world building. But I feel like they made it so they did that so well with like the whole like the strangeness, the sounds, like the graphics, the you know like the scenarios. So I was like, for me, I was just waiting. So I actually wrote down here. This is more of like coming like forward later, but that it sort of like makes you role play, because the dialogue choices and like the discovery choices that you get are like, so they're written in a way that you could never just like be neutral about it. Like you would have to invest in one answer, I feel like. So like when I can't remember now, but like if you're talking about the when he gets his foot crushed in a cave, uh she's asking like how did it go, and you can see like one option is like, oh, I'm fine, like nothing's wrong, and the other option is I broke my damn leg, and like, and both of those statements are true. Like he broke his leg, but he wants to say he's fine. So like you're kind of like deciding what character he is.
Yeah, I
That's
understand what you
happened,
mean.
you know?
Yeah. So it's more of like conveying personality in the dialogue rather than like telling you something about him rather than about what has happened.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's like
yeah, for sure.
connecting back to the stuff we're talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
For sure.
Yeah,
And
just like a tabletop
that's
RPG, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And just like a last note I had, what really stuck out to me, because I haven't gotten to the third chapter yet, but the visuals in the woods in the second chapter, when
Yeah.
you're just running by.
Oh,
when
and
it's
like Darren
cutting
was
out,
talking
yeah.
about,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that was really charming. That was nice.
Because I just realized I was like, do I stop here and chat? Like, where do I stop in this forest? And then I just realized, no, I just keep running because the like me running through the woods is the storytelling, right? I think they found so many different ways to convey like story and world building that I was fine with sitting in the roller coaster, right? Like there's only one way, and it's the track that they've laid, but they laid it in such a way that I'm fine with like not being able to have the freedom to walk around, I think.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it felt sort of the same way to me, like the whole kind, like it didn't bother me so much that there was not that much interaction, because it felt like the whole premise of the game somehow was interesting enough for me. There's two different layers almost. There's kind of like the overarching story that's more like almost like a poetic touch to it. You have to feel your way through it. Like it doesn't really make sense, and that's like you just have to like, you know, go with it.
Right.
But it's also like by far probably the most dense game I've ever played. Like there's every single thing in that game is like a reference or connected to something else. And it's just like I've picked up on a few of them, and it just feels like I've scratched the surface. Like even like, you know, the time like TV installations in the Bureau of Reclaimed Spaces has like this whole kind of, you know, connection to French philosophy and like all manner. So there's like lies really just
interesting.
Like there's been essays written about just the specific elements of the background.
Okay.
Trying to sort of like convey something, but it's yeah.
The Bureau, right? When you get to the Bureau, the third floor has fucking bears.
Bears?
Why?
It says so on the sign, right?
Yeah.
So
who went to it?
Yeah,
I
the
did.
first game I was always playing it very cautious and like trying to make the decisions that I felt was going to keep me moving forward in the game. Because again, like I was definitely struggling with the game too. Like I wanted to try and get through as much of it to try and get as invested. But at that point, like the story had taken me to every level except the bear level before I was given the choice to like, okay, you can leave now. But I'm like, no, got to go to the bear level. Of course, nothing happens.
Right. Yeah, they just ignore you.
They all just look at you. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's like the whole thing, because they do that kind of thing. Like it's very highbrow and like intellectual and pretty like condensed. And then they sort of they have these elements that are a bit nonsensical. Like it's the same thing when you call the phone like on the here and there along the echoes. And like one of the options is like, one of them is like, if you want to know about the forgotten places, press 1. If you're currently holding a snake, press 2.
That was hilarious. That was amazing.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, adding into that kind of stuff.
But then they had like these trees, these decision trees that would branch out. Like you can keep going. I am holding a snake right now, and they tell you what to do. You sing to it, or you like, how is it behaving now? You know, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I was just like,
I think it's like 60 minutes or something of content just in that little intermission. Wow. Like if you actually listen through everything, they try to mine everything out of it. I actually think that if I don't know if it's active anymore, but if you're in the States, like if you call the number, it's actually a real phone number where you can do the same kind of thing with your.
What? That's so cool.
Yeah, it's just this just weird attention to detail that's just amazing to me.
I mean,
but segue into something else. So, like, what's the like if everyone could give the like elevator pitch of what they think the game is about?
Oh shit! you first.
So here's my theory, and I don't know if I'm right because I haven't made it to the end yet. My theory is that this is about a man who's died, and he is going and traveling to the afterlife, but he because they again, like, this is a little bit of spoilers, but they make these references in these flashbacks that he has, that like the Lizette or whatever her name was is actually his wife and not his boss's wife, and that they had a kid. And there was one scene that was like super intense where they actually, like, they don't explicitly say it, but they basically say that the kid died, that he was climbing on a roof and he was by himself and he fell off the roof and died. And so it was like, they alluded that it was like basically him and his wife sitting at a table by themselves, drinking coffee, like super depressed that their child had died. And so, and then like, basically that was supposed to be the flashback of like, okay, well, now I'm going to go and make our last delivery. And they've made a reference to this being his last delivery a few times.
Right.
And in that one scene, they implied that the last delivery is because they're closing their business down because they're just totally wrecked by their child dying.
Yeah.
And so like, again, like I could be reading and connecting all these dots that don't exist, but like they talk about like that, they talk about his, you know, it being his last delivery, his like he's also, they make a lot of references to like alcoholism and like his drinking. So like I kind of feel like he basically like must have died by like something, you know, killing himself or drinking himself to death, and in his despair of losing his child. And so like this is his like soul or whatever trying to find its way to the afterlife.
There's actually another scene that like where he another flashback where he's woken up dead drunk and is supposed to do like a job and he can't do it because he's too drunk, and they wake up and there's this illusion that they're going to wake up Charlie instead, which is the son. And that's when the accident happens. So there's also this connection to him actually not being able to do the job because he's still drunk. And
interesting.
So I never got that. That must be content that you may not get all the content if you don't do all the little like
I think there are a few branching paths. Like I think I got that specifically in Act 4 was the only time where you can like actively choose, I'm going to follow this person or I'm going to follow that person. And if you follow one way, you can't see the other route.
You don't get the other story.
Can I build on what Darren just said?
Yeah.
Because I think that like in most to me, like this game is in essence a ghost story. And by ghost I mean something that has like it's not there anymore, but it remains somehow. In this particular like a game, it's the entire world that's the ghost. So like the world around you is basically sort of stuck in the past and unable to move on, and you're sort of drifting through it. I actually agree. Like there's some kind of allusion to like being stuck between life and death, like this kind of limbo. Like there's a lot of references to like the whiskey, for example, is made from water from the Lake Lethe, which is like the river Lethe was the in Greek mythology one of the 5 rivers of the underworld that you drink from to forget.
Oh, is that related to?
There's a lot. I mean, there's a ton of those different kind of like weird reference to this kind of like lost soul.
And
concept.
you meet a boatman, right? You meet a ferry boatman that takes you down the river with the other lost souls, so to speak. Oh my God, it's clicking.
I feel like this game was definitely made for this group. Like this game was made for people who want to sit around and like nitpick and like dig into like if you were just picking this game up on like a sale and you like coming off of like Legend of Zelda or whatever, and you start playing this game, you're gonna be like, what the fuck is this game? Like I don't understand what's happening. This is confusing. Like it's a little hard. I could see this being a very hard game to get into if you just like picked it up by yourself. But I feel like the only reason I got so far is because I was like, I need to play so I can like talk about this game. And then like as I did though, like I definitely say like by mid Act 2 is when it kind of starts to get at least weird enough where you're like, okay, this is kind of interesting. And then there are certain parts, like Brian said, like the music in the bar was amazing. I really liked actually the in the cave when you
turn on lights,
activate the Xandu, actually the computer. And
Act 4.
You start doing. You basically are playing a game within a game, and it's like it's like a point and click game within this point and click game, and you start doing all these choices. And I felt like that was really fun. That was like one of the other parts where I like probably hung around and did some more of the like options and decision trees than you could, because it gave you the choice. Like, do you want to continue or do you want to leave? And I was like, no, I'll keep going for a little bit. But I think that this game was definitely not made like this game was made for the kind of person who wants to find those like small little Easter eggs and hidden references.
Right. Can we touch back on the whiskey company?
Yeah,
'Cause
sure.
I
Hard
think
Times Whiskey.
yeah, Hard Times Whiskey. Like there are strong themes, in my opinion, of alcoholism. Right.
Yeah.
I think the more you play, the more Conway is just fucking plastered and drunk out of his mind. And before
Yeah.
I joined this chat with you guys, I was at a part where he's just shit faced and he just dives into the water. And like up until that point, again, spoilers, you know, we fix his leg and his leg ends up being a skeleton leg. And later on, when he's more shit faced, he ends up having to owe a debt of servitude for the whiskey company. And and it's right after he takes a sip of that whiskey, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, I believe he wakes up and he's missing an arm. And so the visual of, you know, oh, it cost me an arm and a leg means that something was very expensive, very costly, right? And so the fact that I think what I'm putting two and two together is like, you know, it's not that he's literally working, but like when he takes a sip of that whiskey and he relapses, right? Because he says he was sober for 15 months or something like that. Then he's essentially working for whiskey and he can't get out, and it's going to own the rest of his body like these other people, these other skeletons or whatever.
And I think that like the whole connection to like the Depression era and all those things as well. There's a lot of like connections between like the stuff that is eating the world, basically.
Right.
Like with like the alcohol being one of them. Same thing when he like loses his legs and it's fixed and it's actually financed by, you know, the Consolidated Power Company, and the doctor can't really explain how he's going to pay for it, but they'll make it happen somehow.
Right.
So it's actually like I think the whole like leg thing is actually a reference to the debt, like, you know, you're selling away yourself one part at a time.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Because like all the people working at the whiskey company are all just skeletons. Like they've already sold everything. It's just they're just debt, basically, just walking around there.
Yeah, Walking Dead.
Nothing left of them.
When you stumble upon when you go into that church and it takes you into that secret, basically the company, power company.
Yeah.
Everyone in there besides the tour guide is a skeleton, right?
And they're all just like I don't think it's a coincidence that like it's the church is long, like desolate, just destitute, and underneath is one of the few places that feel like the future, you know, like something else, like more like current time, and that's just this kind of algorithmic temple where they just do like, you know, financial debt management and whiskey.
Yeah.
There's something about it that's just like
I really want to try this whiskey. If it's if they sell it, I totally buy it. Yeah. Simon, were you going to say something?
Yeah, no, I just want to when you guys were talking about, I was just thinking about the visuals some more, because I feel like the story and all these like little leads and all these like small details and like the story is like everything is like so interesting, it sucks you in, that I found that I think like I really appreciate the visuals, but I think that the story was even more interesting, that it brought me into it. But like looking at the game, just like objectively, like Darren said, like being just looking at the game, wanting to play it without knowing how complicated it was, it just looks fucking great. Like I love it. I love the art style, and it's something that's super hard to define with it, that I feel it kind of frustrates me, because like it's like a 2D game in a 3D dimension that never really has like a rule whether it's like 2D and 3D, but it's always in the same dimension. Like it's always lit in like beautiful ways.
Yeah.
And like the only thing that has a constant shape is basically plants. Like all the plants and trees are like triangles or rectangles.
Mm-hmm.
And then like and I feel like it's super amazing how different perspectives like gets shown to you, right? Like when you open up Kentucky Route Zero, for example, you like the whole like house like pulls apart for you to be able to see, you know, something that's not there, right? So like it's a 2D platformer, like 2D point and click game that sometimes just like puts itself inside out, or just like sucks you into it in a visual way that I haven't really seen any other game do, like blending those kind of feelings.
Yeah, it feels like it plays a lot with like the theater in a way.
Yeah.
Like it feels like you're watching like in a sense it feels like you're watching some kind of surreal stage. Like it's more like the stage is rotating rather than you're actually in the world. Like it doesn't try to like put you in the world in that sense. Try to experience like it's more like you're looking into something. Panning
exactly.
around and like this diorama kind of thing, like almost
I feel like
dollhouse vibe sometimes.
when you could switch tracks with the
Yeah.
railroad thingy, it was the same thing. Like the entire stage was like
Mm.
swiveling around you instead of you like choosing a direction. So I think like I think the visuals, not only in the art style but how they executed it, was super impressive. And it's way more than I would expect for a 3-person team.
Right. Yeah.
Alone like an indie studio at all. So
It
yeah.
was a very like guided experience in that regard. But I would say one of my pain points is kind of related to that, in that most of the time it was a 2D with 3D graphics, right? 2D game with 3D graphics. But sometimes it wasn't inherently clear that you can move in 3-dimensional space. So I feel like it took me a few times before I realized, oh, I just went the wrong way. I need to go around this construction cone that way, even though the front of this construction cone was clearly like you can walk through it, That was kind of frustrating for me.
Right.
And later on, you end up landing on this island that has like a tiki bar, and same problem, which is like you can go through certain obstacles one way, but not another, and you don't know why. There's no like significance other than there's an invisible wall there, That was kind of annoying.
Right.
And maybe that's like one of the reasons why they had to go in the direction of like not making everything click on that. Like the stuff they wanted to do is so like offbeat and surreal that it's kind of hard to even communicate it. Like the church, like you have to sit down on this thing because that's gonna go down. Like there's a lot of like
Right.
developments that wouldn't have made timing and everything. Like I don't know. There's something about it that just sort of lends itself to like the whole shifts in perspective and so on. Everything is very sort of cinematic or more like fiat.
Do you guys think that this game could have worked better in any kind of other visual style?
No, I think it
Nah.
has to be exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Perfect
I
in
think
every
it-
single
Because
way.
I think to your
Yeah.
point, like the game sort of tricks you. Like it makes you feel like you have all these choices, but the choices are not meant to, like, they're not meant to affect future choices. They're just, you are literally making choices to build a story, but you're still playing one story. Like there's no exploration. Like you are on a linear path from one end to the other. And like the game is not about the like literal story, it's about the perception of that story. Because like I think you mentioned it before that both things, like if it gives you choices, like is his leg broken or is he fine? Both things are true because both things are what this character wants to say, but you are choosing through which lens to perceive the reality of this
Right.
world. So I feel like
And
you can't do that in an open world, in a 3-dimensional world. Like it has to be a flat 2-dimensional world that is linear, because but through, I think it's through like the art design and through the story design, they were able to sort of give you this sense of depth and reality that's not necessarily there, but they're able to control that with that more linear game development.
Yeah, and I somehow I think I just felt that felt more like creative and honest than all these games that have like the good choice and the bad choice, and the story is basically the same, only you end up with like a slightly different ending or a slightly different dialogue. Like it just felt that it created like a lot more room for you to sort of imagine what was going on and what was the nature of the characters, rather than just trying to act everything out in some sort of like ham-fisted, really on the nose fashion. I really
Yeah. I think it's like I would consider the graphics like low poly pixel graphics, I suppose. Anna, you're in the game industry. I don't know if that's an accurate terminology, but I'm making it up for now. But it did help in that it brought color and dimension to the things to be in focus, and the things that were periphery had less detail and less color, which was very effective in storytelling. So yeah, for me, I think the graphics, I couldn't see it play out in any other way that would be as engaging, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do you have any like best like a character that you like best, or like a dialogue like line or a comment that you like best? Like did anyone like, and I know that you got fed up after a while, but like what stuck with you guys, if it's like a small tidbit?
So mine is definitely. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, so one line that kind of stuck with me was like if there's like any regrets, and he kind of answered like that you can kind of chose the answer like a lot of apologies. I owe some people some apologies.
Right.
Like that kind of line kind of stuck with me. That's like okay, it's something very very dark around him as a character,
Right.
in general. But that kind of like that was very very obvious to me that it is there's an active darkness in the actual story.
Yeah.
So that actually stuck with me.
But it was also kind of charming and clever, right? Like it kind of made you, it made me like the character a little more, because he's kind of cynical, and it was like dark humor, right? It was clever.
Yeah.
My favorite was.
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry, Brian.
I was gonna say mine was are you holding a snake right now? When you're on the phone line. It was just so bizarre. How does the game know? Yeah, I mean, it was just a fun little moment. I went down that rabbit hole. It was really nice. Darren?
I mean, I liked when you meet Ezra for the first time, the little boy, and he tells you that he's like lost his family, and then you find out that he's like talks about his brother, but then his brother ends up being this giant eagle that like picks you guys up and just swoops you away to this other place. And I'm like, holy crap. Like first I thought that was surprising, but then I thought that was really cool. And I don't, again, like maybe this is the point of the game, is I'm sort of projecting my own sort of idea of what this reality is supposed to be, but under the idea that this is Conway's, the delivery guy's afterlife, and this is him kind of coming to terms with the shitty life he had and now what's next for him. I actually think that boy is supposed to represent his son.
Interesting.
And because his brother is an eagle that flies, which is why would a child be up on a roof if he wasn't trying to like pretend he was flying? Like, I don't know. I just felt like it was like they have this boy with a flying eagle, and then like there's this sort of subtext story about his kid being on a roof and falling off. And so like I feel like
interesting,
if he could fly, then his son wouldn't be dead. And so like then here's this kid with a brother eagle. And so I felt like that was really interesting. I feel like that like there were so many, it felt like there was so much depth behind Conway's story, but because of the way, like the purpose of the game being like for you to sort of fill in the perception of like what reality he's currently experiencing, they didn't really go into it, or they didn't really like cement it. They left so much open to interpretation. But I really liked how like the little boy, and because he also, I felt, brought in a lot of fun options. Like when you get like the options to respond as different characters in certain moments, you can respond as Shannon, the TV repairwoman, or Conway, or Ezra. Like Ezra's was always like asking ridiculous questions. And I always felt like those were like the fun, inappropriate questions.
Nice. Johan, favorite line?
Oh yeah, I mean, I really love the one that Anna mentioned, the whole like, do you have any depth? I owe some people some apologies.
Yeah.
But I also like the when Shannon, I just asked like, is this inside or outside?
Right.
When they're at the bureau.
What a
I
question
think
to
it's
ask.
the tone kind of for like the entire game somehow. Like
right.
Are we inside something or outside something?
Yeah, like it seemed like everyone was kind of confused about where they were. I think in Act 4, when you go on the boat,
Yeah.
they are constantly remaking the map because they're like, oh, this is normally after the dinosaur rock, but now it's before the dinosaur
Yeah.
rock. So make sure you update the map.
Exactly.
Like, there's that weird kind of like not even people in the world kind of knew what was going on, which is strange.
No, exactly. I actually say that at the Bureau of Reclaimed Spaces. Like it's when you say, "Oh, you're traveling to zero." Now we never do that nowadays. It's so difficult to get from here to there.
Yeah.
That's just really, really, really
Yeah.
cool. But I think one of my favorites of it was actually when like at some point, I think it's during Act 2. They actually at one point like actually comment the music that's playing, like the whole the music crew just dropping by to play music at like the ends of it, and it's actually the child Ezra who asks like, "What are they singing about?"
Oh, right.
And you get like the choice between I think it's like they're singing about traveling, they're singing about going home, or they're singing about regrets. And it all like sort of pins out from that place.
Hmm.
It's really, really cool. Like you get
Feels
to
like
tone
there was a
it's
lot
now
of
they're singing about
storytelling.
the last option is they're singing about hard times. So you
Yeah.
get to like have this kind of like set the context. Is it like we're on our way? Are we going home? Or is it
Right.
It feels cool. Like, it feels like there's a lot of storytelling within the like ABC choices of a dialogue. Like even if you're not saying like choice 2, like the choice 2 is like still valid, right? Because
Yeah.
like they build like a world that way. I really like the when Conway and Lula talks, and Conway's like arthritis, because like her like the legs are not working that well or something like that, and she says, Dr. Truman says my joints are eroding one another. They've been collaborating for decades. It's only natural they will want to kill each other now.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, again, that's
Nice
like really
reference
charming.
to the trio collaboration as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to the visuals, do you guys have any inkling on what the deal was with the giant animals between the giant eagle, the giant horse head in the beginning, and on the boat there's a giant woolly mammoth? I couldn't get any kind of meaning from that or what they were trying to say or do with those, just the theme of gigantic animals. Does it have anything to do with like afterlife?
I feels like it's just more like of a like a what I thought was that it's like a it's like it's more of like a statue, right? It feels like it's a more of a like a point on the map, or like a chess piece, like it's something to like look out for, like a like a lighthouse, basically, like in your story. What was that was my feeling. That was like this is like a definition point of like where you start, where you are now, where you're going.
Interesting. Yeah, because, and then also they don't really address the fact that the kid's brother is a gigantic eagle. It's just kind of matter of fact. They're like, everyone's like, okay, just going with it, right? And then, yeah, they don't really.
Absolutely.
No one addresses the fact that when the boat comes by, that there's a gigantic woolly mammoth on the back on its back going "Brrr," like a foghorn. And the boatman, I think, talks about doing maintenance on it with gears and stuff, and it's so yeah. I just couldn't find anything there.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I haven't even begun thinking about that.
Yeah.
Right, but there are normal-sized animals as well. Homer and the horse is into.
Yeah, what do you think
Lots on the
Homer's
road.
all about? Kind of like, because you go back and there's opportunities to talk with the dog, and it doesn't go anywhere, but I love the fact that you can just talk to the dog. But is that supposed to symbolize something? Like, I guess there's a story of the guy just kind of going through the 7 circles of hell.
Homer is the dog's name?
Is it? No.
You can choose the dog's name.
You
so
can
I,
choose
Right.
the dog's name.
Mine
It
was
says
Blue.
you can name it Blue.
Oh,
Or Homer, I think.
My
yeah,
dog's
Shit.
name is Dog, I think.
yeah.
You can
really?
name it dog as well. But I guess if you go with Homer, like there's this reference to like the Odyssey and like Greek storytelling. In which case you have like the silent storyteller, the one who's always there and sort of witnessing the story, but never having a voice of his own. So
Right.
I mean, it's
Oh.
I guess you could dig into it.
I guess
But,
we know the person that paid attention in school.
If it's named Blue, I'm not sure.
I guess you could be smart about it if you're smart, but sucks to be you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure like there's economy of storytelling and there's no fat, right?
Yeah.
So like the choice of names, I'm sure has reference to stuff like even whether it's Blue
It
or
has,
Homer or whatever, there's got to be reference there. And I think is
It's
like
every single, I think every single name in that game, like so far when I tried to dig into it, has some kind of like at least vague connotation to it, you know. The doctor being named Truman, who I think was the president who first tried doing universal healthcare.
oh,
And he's
interesting.
selling you stuff on, like, you know, and there's like Shannon and Weaver, like the two people working with TVs, like those are the two founders of communication theory.
Wow, you really dug into this. I'm impressed. Nice. Cool.
Like
Shit.
super impressed. There are 3 people producing this game,
Yeah.
and all of these
That's
details.
absolutely insane. Yeah.
It is insane. Like I can't like
Show off.
it's amazing. Yeah, like hats off to them. That's incredible.
Right.
So like one thing I thought throughout my gameplay, and I haven't finished the game yet, is I hope the writers have done something else, because I
agree.
there were so many like moments of like small genius that I was like, I hope there's more. Like I want more. Like where is this and where can I get it? But I looked up the writer and all I could find was like super bad, like horror, like like really like B horror books. So I'm not sure if it's the same guy.
Oh, interesting.
kind of want
So
it to
yeah,
be.
I gotta
Yeah.
find it. But it's I really like the how it's written and lay it out and all the details and the small like there's like everything is in the details in this game. I feel like.
Right. And I think we kind of like we touched on this, but the opposite effect with Rain World, which is like the beauty of having an indie game studio is you can take a very specific vision and you can execute that with no other stakeholders going, hey, maybe you need to chill out on this, or we need to appeal to younger people, so add this or something like that, right? So the fact that there were 3 people able to execute such a unique, surreal vision is part of the magic of indie games, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely uncompromising. That's one thing you can say for sure, at least.
Yes,
just
uncompromising is a very
yeah,
polite way of
it's
putting it.
It doesn't pull any punches. It's like it is what it is. It doesn't make it easier for you.
Right, absolutely.
I'm not even sure who the target. Like even we're gonna come to that, I suppose. But like, who would you suggest play this game?
Right.
It's just like an
Yeah,
absolutely
actually, right
impossible
before
question to answer.
we get to there, what are you guys' overall impressions? Like, would you say you liked it? Would you say you didn't like it? Or what's your reaction to it? Anyone first?
It's a 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 for me.
Wow.
It's absolutely amazing. I'm still haven't completely processed this, but like that's from like it's a 9 out of 10 experience, but is it 9 out of 10 game?
Right.
It's a
Yeah, like I don't even know if I would classify it as a video game. Like I feel like it's more of an interactive sort of narrative adventure. But I mean but generally I would still definitely give it kind of like a 7 or 8 out of 10 for me. It definitely feels like the kind of game where if I ever felt like I was like I don't really know what kind of game I want to get into, I want to just play something that I'm not necessarily invested in, but want to like I feel like this is the kind of game I could go into and like explore and try to like not break the game, but like I feel like I could go into this game and be like, what could I try to do that I didn't do the last time? And
Right.
maybe like it almost feels like the game could have some replayability too, and try to do it again, but with like different choices to see what would happen. That like I do like it for that. So it's definitely like for me, I think it was definitely worth the buy. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Anna, Simon?
Anna, go ahead.
Well, like I didn't give the game the fair chance it kind of deserves, apparently, because I'm a restless kind of person. But like for me, like I'm not sure that based on the pace and the actual game itself that I would act like it's not the game for me. It's I totally agree with you, Darren, that it's more of an interactive story rather than a video game. Because you don't do that much with the game itself, but you do a lot when it comes to the storytelling. And I don't mind that, but I would like to go in to that mindset while like when I actually play it. So I would maybe rate it like a 4, which is 4 out of 10, which I know is like if I actually give it a chance and play it, I will probably give it a much higher rating. But I think it's more about my impatience of giving the game the time it deserves. So I think that's more of an issue on my end, to be honest. But
No,
Right.
but I get that. It doesn't strike me as a game that is like that is for everybody to like get stuck on, right? Like
Yeah.
it's and honestly, I thought it wouldn't be for me either. Like I've always liked the idea of these kind of games, but I've never had the attention span or like the yeah, it's never really clicked with me. That's why I'm surprised and kind of happy that this. I mean, obviously I haven't finished it, but I haven't because I don't want to. It's a game that I don't want to play if I don't want to play it. Like
Right.
it feels more like a good good book. Darren's heading out, so
Thanks,
bye,
Darren.
Darren.
See ya.
But no, it's I feel like so some days like yesterday I was playing Final Fantasy 14 like all the day because I was like do I want to play? Like I should play. I mean, we're reviewing it tomorrow, but like no, I don't want to stress through it.
Right.
I want to like have a cup of tea. I want to like feel like I want to feel correct like my correct emotion for this game, and then I just want to like let it like flow over me like so
just
it's
gonna get in the mood, man.
yeah
Yeah.
definitely
all in the mood, yeah.
Light your gamer candle, put on some pajamas, dip your toes into
Yeah,
Kentucky Route Zero.
I actually felt the exact same way. I saved Act 4 and 5. I was close to like going like, oh, yeah, maybe I can finish it over the weekend before we review it.
Yeah.
And I sort of fought better, and I'm so happy about it now.
Nice.
And I
Yeah.
be able to just like spend a week on Act 4 or something and just take it like piece by piece.
Yeah. For me, I think was it an enjoyable experience? I would say hell yeah. It definitely it ramped up for me for sure. Was it a good game for me? No, which is very push-pull, right? Good game versus good experience. They don't always go hand in hand with indie games, right? Because sometimes like you got to see the intent of the developer and what was in their mind at the time, and how this. I guess this can go and lead right into our next topic, which is like, who is this game for, right? Because we talk about like sometimes they don't give a shit if you enjoy it or not. They just well, obviously they give a shit to like let people know about it, but like they're like, this is our vision, we're sticking to it, and you either like it or you hate it, right? Like it's a very niche game, and I would have trouble recommending it to many people, and I think the only people I recommend it to are the people in our group. I can't think of any other gamer that would really enjoy this, even marginally. What do you guys think?
I think it's like I would definitely recommend this game if you love like text and story driven games, because it seems like that's the like unique selling point in this case, that it is something. It's a complete like it's an experience in the narrative, like it's a narrative experience basically. So if you love those games and really know that I love these point and click games, then that's totally a game for you.
Right.
But if you're more into you want to be a part of the actual game experience, then I think this is too difficult of a game, and to kind of this is not a game that you just casually play, like
Right.
based on the setting the mood kind of thing that you went for, Simon. But it's much like you really need to know what you're investing in, and
Yes.
people that enjoy narrative stories
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that sense.
Exactly.
I would even-
I think. Yeah. Sorry. Go.
I would even say that, like, with people that enjoy point and click games, only some of them would enjoy this game, right? It's just
Yeah.
like a subset of that type of gamer would really enjoy it. It's just so specific, so unique of an experience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I think it's closer to, like, I would recommend it to my friends who are into literature rather than friends who are into games.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, you're right.
Maybe it's a tough sell for that crowd, but like I put up some screenshots on Instagram like weeks back, and I got a lot of people asking about, like, where's that from? That's great.
Nice.
Uh,
Yeah.
Because just the quotes and so on, it's like it's really just solid, really good writing. And for me, if I had to sell like a game to someone who was really interested in like the writing part of storytelling and the narrative, it would be like this and Disco Elysium. Both of them are just really good, even on a literary.
Yeah. You're starting to cut out a little bit, but they're still relatively clear. We'll hang in there.
I'm doing my best, man.
Yeah. Any other notes or thoughts, Simon?
Yeah, so I think a lot of indie games. I think a lot of indie games are made for indie gamers, and a lot of like I think like a lot of games have like a gaming category as a target group, right? Like Call of Duty, people who like to play FPS games, not necessarily people who like war history, right?
Right.
But then you have history games that it can be any type of game. It's just made for historians, and so you have like all of these kind of different things. You have indie games like that are, like indie gamers like indie games. That's like a broad statement that's mostly true, I feel like.
Yeah.
But this wasn't like, this feels like it's not made for either point and click or text-based adventure people or gamers or indie gamers. It feels like more of a what's it? I forget the name of the movie producer that
David Lynch.
inspired. Yeah, Lynch. Yeah, that's right. So it's more like that kind of thing, right? Like it's more of like an like artistic statement, or like a story. Like it's made for people who like those kind of stories rather. And then like this game could have been like any type of game, but the story is like the compelling part, I feel like. So and what I realized that after like my first 10 minutes of gaming, because I thought like this is gonna be an indie game, and I like indie games,
Right.
but I ended up being like, no, this is a David Lynch game ish, and I like that, but I didn't know that was what I was gonna get, or that I do like David Lynch-ish video games, because I never played one. So
Right.
I think that it's more towards like the people who wants to experience that kind of like story. So
Yeah.
I would offer it to I would give it to indie gamers who are not prepared for it. I would give it to people who I know would like the story, who are not used to gaming, and I would give it to people who are like, who appreciate both. I think it's like it's an experience that could make some people just like realize like, whoa, like this kind of storytelling is new to me. Like this is something I like. I thought I just liked games, and also for like people who like stories to realize that there are kind of getting into the whole idea that we all know, that gaming is a tool to tell stories, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we've had plenty of games this year that did that to many different degrees. I think you hit the nail on the head, in my opinion, in that, again, we like to talk about what was the developer's vision and how well did they execute on that vision. And I think it goes back to the beginning when I read what their influences were, right? Influences were Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Flannery O'Connor, and David Lynch. And I think they sought to make a very David Lynch and those other people experience. With that said, I think this is where we can get into our custom rating system here, which is like, with that in mind, how well did they execute that vision based on creating this David Lynch-like experience?
So, how many bottles of Hard Times whiskey?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, Johan, do you want to start? How many on a scale of 1 to how many bottles of Hard Time whiskey? What's our rating scale there?
I don't know. What's the rating scale?
1 to 47 bottles of Hard Time whiskey.
Oh, wow.
I'd say one too much.
One too many.
Yeah, one too
exactly.
many.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I suppose. Like I wouldn't like you wouldn't remember how many you've drunk by the time you've drunk them.
Nice.
No, I mean it's an absolutely. I think it's a fantastic, but
High
it's
praise.
hard to pinpoint exactly.
Mm-hmm. Anna?
Well, yeah, once again, I don't think that my rating will be kind of fair to the actual game since I didn't give it a fair chance, but I will probably give it a pretty low rating because for me it was too pretentious.
Right.
And
okay. So just as an aside on there, it's not necessarily the rating on how good it is, but how well it executed on that kind of David Lynch vision. And if I'm reading your reaction, it's like that's the same kind of reaction some people have to David Lynch, right?
Yeah, most likely. So then pretty high.
Yeah,
I'd
a
say.
lot of hard times.
Maybe 47 out of 47. Like it was very.
But for you, it's not that many. For you, it's like 3.
No, it's not my cup of tea at all. But I'm not a big fan of David Lynch either. So
yeah,
that's fair.
That's probably why.
But I like that, and like we spoke, I think last time, is that it's good to have like a. When we first started to talk about this, me and Brian were talking about that. When you look at game reviews or like people talking about games, it's just like this is a good game, this is a bad game. Okay, like let's play the good games. Here, I like it that like you don't have to. It doesn't have to be a good game. You can still talk about it or have opinions about it. You can still like some parts about it. You can still hate. I mean, like I hated freaking Slime Cat game, and I had so much to talk about.
Yeah.
But like Johan played it a lot more. So I think that it's good to have like a to just be an echo chamber of like, oh my god, it's a David Lynch game is less interesting than having like a broader discussion or like
yeah absolutely.
So like I really appreciate your thoughts, and I think you have like super valid points because these kind of games can get too much like jerking itself off as well at times and be like being like oh like this is a weird game and it's gonna get weirder and but you like not necessarily need more weirdness, so you might need something that anchors you more.
Yeah. And to the point of Slugcat was a game that nobody liked, but we all thought that they executed their vision flawlessly, and it was pretty clear. Right?
Decently, at least.
Yeah. Like they wanted a difficult, unenjoyable experience, and they executed it perfectly. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a fucking horrible experience, but that's life as a Slugcat.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not supposed to have fun. You don't even know what fun is. You're a slug.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Life is hard.
As a Slugcat.
Right. Well, cool. I think for me that wraps up the thoughts. I can't think of anything else I want to cover. What about you guys?
Did you have any last? I forgot if you said your last thoughts about it.
About
the game and
yeah. I mean, I think they.
Did you give it a rating?
My Hard Times whiskey rating would be so much that you're wasted on the floor. I think it what's nice about it is that it is very clearly like, even if I didn't read the reference to David Lynch, I mean, this is so David Lynch, but it also is able to have its own identity without feeling like a complete ripoff. You know, it is like heavily inspired. And I think I want to look up more on Gabriel Marquez and Flannery O'Connor and see what type of literature they write. Because I would like to see how much...
Garcia Marquez is magical realism, but I actually think like the genre that's most connected to the game is something called Southern Gothic.
Southern
Maybe
Gothic.
from,
Interesting.
yeah, exactly. Faulkner and
Southern. I'm gonna make a note of that. Gothic. Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I think they executed it really well, and I always say that, oh yeah, I'll return to it, but then I'm like, I'm jumping on the next hot game. But I think after this, I definitely want to see it through because I'm interested. Like, what the fuck is this game trying to say? Because none of us finished it, and I would like some sort of closure, no matter if it's disappointing or not.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be one of those games that you sort of like. It doesn't really end somewhere, you know.
Yeah, it could be just like Coen Brothers, where it's just like it just kind of ends, right?
Yeah, I know. It's like a song on a policeman's radio. Sort of, like just ebbs out.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyone have any inkling onto why every time the word zero came up, it was like ghostly and fuzzy, and certain lines of dialogue were ghosty and fuzzy? That was another mystery I couldn't put my finger on.
Yeah, think about that.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it either.
I do.
There's something about like that because there's a connection as well with the skeletons and so on. This kind of like distortion around them, and you could use like the gausser that you use on the computer, and they sort of blurred out.
Yeah, it did
in a
that,
weird
and I was
fashion,
like,
so-
"What am I doing? What
Yeah.
was it for?" But yeah, it was a little confusing.
I have absolutely no idea what it means.
I gotta say before we take up, something that I think the guy in the forest, like when you walk down from the farmhouse, that starts singing in the woods, just like floored me. I thought that was super cool. But then when you see what's her name, Lula's perspective, like when she's in the cave, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just like realized that, oh shit, I'm her now.
Right.
Like I'm her talking to me. That like that blew my mind. Like or like that was something I didn't expect. And you do that multiple times, right? You do that with the reception, not the receptionist, but the girl at the office as well. So I thought it was like super interesting to take, like you not only did you use your own perspective, but you didn't only write your story, but you wrote everybody's story. You wrote the whole story, right? Like because you
Right.
had dialogue options on all of these people's like lives. It was something about that kind of writing that made me decide for other people that I thought was super cool. I can't put my finger on it, but I just like when it happened the first time, I was like, whoa, wait, this
Yeah.
is wow.
I mean, with that being said, I do, like, to your point, Johan, in our chat on Messenger, I do wish that we experienced it in real time as it was being released, because then we could kind of contemplate each act, whereas on a single playthrough, everything kind of bled together. And I think part of the experience would have been waiting between chapters, right?
Yeah, and I think it takes time. Like I said, like it's there's so many different themes and so many different angles that you could like discuss it and attack it. And I think it's sort of like discussing it as a whole is then it needs to be like about personal experience. We can't really. It's really difficult to unpack. There's a lot of there's something about like the whole like historical kind of theme to it. With the collapse of the mine and the like economic downfall of the American South, and like a bunch of those like huge overarching themes that's really difficult to sort of unpack in a 1 hour discussion. I would have loved to just be able to like.
Yeah, we're gonna link down below a link to our 12-hour stream about this game later this week.
Oh no.
Yeah, I mean it's I think we barely scratched the surface. I think we kind of touched on like kind of top line emotions and reactions and stuff, but it's just so easy. There's so many ways we can go about this. It's like you said, it's a very deep, rich game,
Dense.
Dense. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, with that said, I think should that wrap it up?
Yeah, sounds good.
I'm dry. My well is dry for this. But with that said, let's. I'm gonna wrap it up, and then let's hang out on Discord for a little bit, and we'll talk about next month. How about that? Yeah.
Cool.
Right on. Well, everyone in chat, apparently we've had 5 viewers, 6 at one point. Thanks for watching. Thank you for joining us on our monthly discussion. We will see you next month. Bye.
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 Bye bye.